How did it go from this?
A star is born, Elon.
And we had one president who couldn't climb a flight of stairs, and another who was fist pumping after getting shot.
To this.
He knew every aspect of this bill. He knew it better than almost anybody. And he never had a problem until right after he left. And if you saw the statements he made about me, which I'm sure you can get very easily, it's very fresh on tape, he said the most beautiful things about me. And he hasn't said bad about me personally, but I'm sure that'll be next. But I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
As the Donald Trump Elon Musk breakout plays very publicly all over social media, was it always inevitable? And why does this bust up really matter? Welcome to Americast.
Americast from BBC News.
Hello, it is Marianna, aka Misinformation, in the worldwide headquarters of Americast in London.
Hello, it's Sarah here. I'm at home in Washington, D.C.
And it's Justin, also at home in South London.
And we're hoping Anthony will join us later.
Yeah, it's and it's quite right that we have some element of surprise, potential surprise during the course of the next few minutes, because that's what we're talking about, surprise. I mean, some not surprise in one sense, I suppose, guys, because we sort of assumed this was going to happen. But let's talk first about what actually has happened, because the extent of it is what has really caused jaws to drop, isn't it? So it starts with, with this. Let's hear the klaxon.
Elon!
Perhaps the most important use of the Elon Musk klaxon there's ever occurred, because we may have been talking a little bit about soft launches of the breakup and, was it conscious uncoupling and it was all going to be okay between Donald Trump, obviously, and then Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. And lo and behold, it's not really been okay at all. There has been this very, very big falling out and breakup. And I don't know how we want to start. It's a bit of a tit-for-tat, really, that becomes very memeable very quickly.
I think there was a clear point at which it started, Marianna, because Elon Musk had, for a few days, been criticising what Donald Trump calls his big, beautiful bill, the spending bill. And Elon Musk was complaining that tax cuts were going to add to the deficit. And what was the point of him doing all of this cutting of government spending if Donald Trump was just going to spend all this money on tax cuts and raise the deficit? So, I mean, he'd said that on social media. He'd given a couple of television interviews about it. And it was really noticeable that there wasn't much response at all from Donald Trump. Then there he is in the Oval Office on Thursday, sitting beside the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, and he's asked about it, and then just suddenly he goes for it. So have a listen. This is the first thing he said.
But I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem. And he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate, because that's billions and billions of dollars.
And it's probably fair to say that Elon Musk didn't take too kindly to those comments, and as is his modus operandi, decided to take to X, his social media platform, and begin this kind of war of words where you've got Donald Trump posting on Truth Social and him posting on X, going from very explicit criticism of the bill to then very explicit criticism of Donald Trump.
It must be the first time two people have gone to war on social media when they both own their own social media platform, which is, that's quite something. And it shows you the scale of this row when you're talking about the richest man in the world, probably the most powerful man in the world, both of them with their own social media sites to launch jabs at each other from.
And the scale of the escalation was just staggering, wasn't it? Because initially you had that stuff from Trump and it all sounded like sort of measured criticism. And you might have thought, well, maybe Elon Musk in the coming days, this is how politics used to work, isn't it? Might have used coded language to say, well, I'm not sure the president's quite right on that, although I still think he's a jolly good fellow for all the rest of it. Because after all, he did once say he loved him more than a man can love another man who is heterosexual. So, I mean, this is in the context of a pretty close relationship, a very close relationship until very recently. But no, Musk doesn't do that. He just goes completely, well, as Donald Trump would put it, crazy, because Trump later used that word, didn't he? And you start to get a load of things topped, Marianna, by this extraordinary and sudden bomb, as Elon Musk calls it, where suddenly in the middle of the night he says, time to drop this bomb. And he kind of accuses Trump, in effect, of being part of Jeffrey Epstein, the sex offenders coterie of people who visited him. He said he's in the Epstein files, and that's why those files haven't been released, with absolutely no evidence, we should make clear, that that is the truth. But I mean, this is a staggering kind of escalation.
Yeah, and lots of these topics and themes that Elon Musk has now evoked and started talking about are ones that his followers on X are particularly animated around. Concerns about Epstein and abuse, sexual abuse, all of the kind of really serious issues that arise from talking about him and everything kind of surrounding him. And so to kind of bring that up and evoke it in relation to Donald Trump is a pretty sort of extreme way to go. It's in lots of ways not surprising. Like if you spend your time monitoring Elon Musk's feed on X, as I do, this is how he often falls out with people, and it does become quite extreme and quite personal. The White House, as you said there, Justin, there's no evidence to support what he's saying. It's unverified, and the White House came out to describe these kind of comments as unfortunate. I think one of the most interesting things is the way that if you think about it, Donald Trump used to use Twitter all the time. So perhaps in an old world, you would have had him and Elon Musk sort of like having that ding dong quite literally on X, like replying to each other. But because Donald Trump has never quite taken the step to go back on X, he is back on X, but he doesn't use it in the way that he used to. And you wonder whether there's this element of power and control that he decided, like, right, I'm going to stick to Truth Social because Elon Musk ultimately is the person at the reins on X. And that means I kind of am relying on him to be able to communicate with people. And, I don't want, whatever could happen, my algorithm to mean that I'm not being pushed to people and so on and so forth. But it's certainly like a very messy breakup. And one I would say that I think we did predict.
Okay, this is now so serious that Anthony has now joined us. Anthony, it's war. And I suppose the question is whether it was inevitable right from the beginning, because we suggested some time ago, to bang our drum for a second, we did suggest that it was inevitable, although I don't think we saw it quite going this nuclear this quickly. But it's not a surprise, is it, that it has happened?
Not a surprise. We weren't the only ones to make this prediction, but like you said, this was particularly dramatic and particularly fast. And I guess, in hindsight, these are two of the biggest personalities who live their entire lives in the public. They have two of the biggest megaphones in the world, the most powerful politician in the world, the wealthy man in the world. So this has been set up for a dramatic clash, and now we're seeing it unfold. But we went from zero to Elon Musk talking about the Epstein files in about 3 hours yesterday. So even by modern standards, that's a breakneck speed.
Yeah, because in that particular X that he posted, Elon Musk said, time to drop the really big bomb. So that suggests that this is the biggest thing he's got, that he thinks he's got over Donald Trump. So he was holding nothing back. I mean, it tells you quite something about his personality, doesn't it? That once you've started a fight over a spending bill, you're dropping what you call the really big bomb quite so quickly.
One of the most interesting things that he did suggest, Musk, on X, was that actually, essentially, Donald Trump couldn't have won the election without me. I'm instrumental to that. And like, what's he kind of going to do now? And I think that's the really interesting thing thinking about this, because this breakup has been very explosive. And it's worth saying that as a consequence, it has very much caught the internet's attention. Like the undercover voters have all not escaped. Like the memes, there's all sorts of TikToks of people saying, all kinds of things like, the girls are fighting, it's a falling out. It's, some internet memes all about like, men aren't emotional. Well, maybe they are. All that kinds of stuff. And then you've also got conspiracy theory activists online who are suggesting it's actually just a fight for show, that it's a fake fight, it's not actually real. And then you've also got loads of memes of Barron Trump, Donald Trump's son, with people suggesting he's the one pulling the levers and saying it's time to cut off Musk now, this is what we're doing, and so on and so forth. But on a serious point, beyond those jokes and memes and everything else, which are kind of engulfing all sides of the political spectrum, but certainly some very happy people who don't like Donald Trump and Elon Musk very much, I think is that question of, like, Elon Musk has been a very useful person to Donald Trump in terms of the way he succeeds in reaching certain groups of people on social media, this idea of being kind of not woke or opposed to those ideas, and how Elon Musk certainly sort of helped him in that idea of being like a bit more modern perhaps, but then also like not being too sort of like serious or not accessible or not reaching different audiences. And whether you dislike or like Elon Musk, like he has been useful in that sense. Like, is it that Donald Trump has genuinely decided that Elon Musk is no longer of use to him, or is it that like this actually is just a breakdown of a relationship that actually could backfire kind of for both of them?
Oh, I think it's a massive, massive deal actually for, I mean, and it is really serious. You're quite right to say it's serious, because it's okay to look at the memes and all the rest of it, and some of the madder ones are quite funny. But this really does matter politically, it seems to me, potentially. And you can see that already with people like Steve Bannon, the Musk, the Trump, advisor from the first term, and certainly through campaigns, and he's even been to prison for contempt of Congress. I mean, he's a really keen Trump man, and he is absolutely celebrating. And a lot of MAGA world is celebrating because they always saw Musk as an outsider, and they always saw Musk potentially as a threat to the project, as someone who is fundamentally libertarian in his outlook. You remember Vivek Ramaswamy, the guy who himself ran for the Republican nomination for a bit, sometime around Christmas. I think it was on Christmas Day. Suddenly announced that he didn't think Americans were up to much anymore, and particularly American children. They're having too many sleepovers and all the rest of it. And Ramaswamy, remember, was part of the kind of Musk. Well, originally was part of Doge, wasn't he? And there's this sense that these people, these sleek, wealthy people, have a view of America that actually isn't the view of a lot of MAGA supporters, and they are very, very pleased to see the back of them. And I think there is going to be some considerable amount of celebration, and potentially, Anthony, I don't know what you think of this, potentially, or Sarah, potentially as well, actual changes in what really happens as a result of Musk going.
I think Elon Musk did exert an influence from within the White House, within the administration, maybe tempering some of these pushes for higher tariffs, obviously targeting parts of the government for cuts that the people who were in charge of those departments, like Marco Rubio in the State Department, didn't want. With him out of the picture now, I think there is a very real chance that policy could shift. I mean, we've talked about what Donald Trump can do to Elon Musk, and I think it's pretty clear he could cut funding for Elon Musk's programs, which are heavily dependent on government contracts. He could renew investigations into Elon Musk that the Biden administration was pursuing. He could oust all of the Musk allies who have nestled their way into government agencies. But I think it's also important that we talk about what Musk can do to Donald Trump. And you touched on this, Justin. Musk can steal the spines of Republicans in the U.S. Senate and help derail this spending bill. He can provide financial and political air cover for them, essentially, make sure that they have the funds they need to run for re-election, even if they cross Donald Trump, because that was a big concern among a lot of Republicans about breaking with Donald Trump. What would they do? Would Trump support insurgent candidates running against them? Musk changes that dynamic, and Musk can also threaten Donald Trump's allies with their own insurgent-funded primary candidates. And Musk also can be a vocal mouthpiece for all of the things he was trying to do within the administration. Now he can argue for outside the administration, and he has hundreds of millions of followers on X and can generate news cycles on his own in a way that really only Donald Trump can right now in American politics.
It was really interesting, I thought, what kind of briefings were coming out of the White House yesterday. So as these two men are slagging each other off on social media, there's an explanation being dripped into reporters' ears from Trump acolytes. And they were saying, look, what this is really about is two things. That Elon Musk is upset that the big beautiful bill cuts subsidies for electric vehicles and therefore for his Tesla cars, and that he didn't get his choice to be appointed as the head of the space agency, NASA. And obviously, if he had a friend at the top of NASA, that would help his company, SpaceX. And I mean, that may or may not be true, but it's clearly trying to signal to people, look, he was just in it for his own self-interest. All he really cared about in government was making money for his companies. So don't listen to this man as the leader of any kind of movement. Don't ally yourself to him as a politician, because actually it was just selfish self-interest that he was trying to get out of the government. And then you were talking about Steve Bannon, Justin. I mean, he's probably the happiest man in America because he really hates Elon Musk. I think personally and politically, he thought that, as a tech oligarch, he couldn't speak for the working class.
And it's not a new thing, is it?
Oh, no, not a new thing at all. But he has gone so far as to suggest that SpaceX, the Elon Musk company that makes rockets, should be privatized, should be seized by the government, and that Elon Musk's immigration status should be investigated, because he likes to run a conspiracy theory that Elon Musk, who was obviously born in South Africa, isn't now an American citizen. So, I mean, that's how far they're prepared to go in terms of suggesting action. But I think that it's not a stupid strategy to try and undermine Elon politically by saying it was just, when he didn't get his way for his companies, that's when he walked out.
Yeah. And of course, one of the big questions now is whether Musk, never mind, I mean, he's not now going to fund, is he, challenges to Republicans in Congress when Republicans in Congress are doing what he wants them to do. In other words, to object to the bill and not get it passed. They're pretty safe to do that now, and that might have a political impact. But further down the line, I mean, the guy is as both of them are, quite capable of doing anything now, you'd think. They are remarkable, remarkable in their ability to move on and to move positions. And you wonder, possibly might even fund Democrats. I mean, he's got a lot of money. It can do something in American politics. It doesn't always win. He was up in Wisconsin, wasn't he, in that judicial race, and he spent a ton of money there and didn't have any influence at all. So we should keep it in context. But, what if he goes completely rogue and starts funding, potentially, in the 26 midterm elections, people to knock the Republicans out?
And he used to fund Democrats. I mean, he was a Democratic donor before his heel turn last year supporting Republicans. So in theory, he could go back, although I think there are a lot of Democrats, probably most Democrats, who wouldn't want his money. There's a handful of them, like Ro Khanna of California, who's a friend of his, who have been taking to social media calling out for an outreach to Elon Musk, but he's been getting a considerable amount of pushback from that. So it's interesting also to think about when you talk about Donald Trump punishing Musk and what Trump could do. All of this is remarkable because it's punishing Elon Musk for expressing political viewpoints. It's punishing Elon Musk for not being loyal, for not toting the party line, and it's taking it out on his companies that have signed contracts with the federal government. I mean, it seems normal now for us to talk about this, like, oh, how is Donald Trump going to get back at Elon Musk? But it fits in with what Donald Trump has done to, say, Harvard as well, where there are political differences, and Donald Trump is using the power of the federal government, the purse of the federal government, to punish people who he doesn't agree with politically. And that is a remarkable turn of events to do it so overtly and in such huge measures.
I think it's worth saying as well that this is a real test of the influence that Elon Musk does or doesn't have without Donald Trump. Like, before he'd endorsed Donald Trump anyways, he was already seeming to affect like what people were talking about as per what is recommended on X, and the way that, a social media platform on its own, now that social media platforms have in some ways like eclipsed the traditional media in a certain sense, the ability to like distort and change what people care about or put things on people's agenda that they weren't talking about. It's kind of a test of the ability of Elon Musk to do that versus what Donald Trump can do. He's got a very good in with quite a lot of the podcasters, the streamers, the kind of alternative media world that we've chatted about a lot. Like, will he capitalize on that? There have been quite a few funny memes saying things like, who gets Joe Rogan, the podcaster, in the divorce? Like, ultimately, where do all these people fall down? Do they decide that actually they're not very happy with some of the things Donald Trump is doing, and so they side with Elon Musk and they want a new party and they want new politics and all that kind of thing? Or is it tactical article from Donald Trump, and actually, Elon Musk is perceived to be this kind of like slightly more out of touch, very rich man who runs all sorts of businesses, including a social media company. And actually, this is Donald Trump's way of kind of losing him because he's not that valuable in that world anymore.
The thing that really strikes me about them both, Marianna, and this is really your world because it sort of fits into your world in a way, they are remarkably disinhibited as individuals. There's something about Donald Trump, isn't there, as a politician that makes him unique. And we've discussed that in the past. And this ability to be less inhibited in anything than most people tend to be is mirrored, isn't it, in Musk. And then that fits into the social media world because a lot of people are very disinhibited on social media because they don't think they're ever going to meet the people they're being nasty about. I mean, it really does. They fit this world horribly.
And I think it's actually worth saying that as well, because it is very possible that on the next episode of Americast, they've somehow like kiss and made up, and like they both enjoy these kind of like big feuds and falling outs. And there were even bits where Elon Musk was replying to accounts that basically don't have any followers, saying like, okay, yeah, fine, I won't do that to Donald Trump then, and that sort of thing. And Elon Musk is quite famous for his trolling. I've been on the receiving end of it, and he doesn't like to take anything very seriously. So is there a world where they kind of both just like pretend that it was, whether it was or wasn't, that it was just sort of like, oh, it's just a bit of a funny thing, but like it's all okay now? I mean, after some of the various political rows that Donald Trump has had with JD Vance and Musk, with people like Zelensky, for example, like, again, those things were sort of brushed off later down the line, and it was kind of like, oh, we're all okay again now. Like, could that happen here, or is it longer lasting?
There's a lot of work going on in Washington right now to try and make that happen. I mean, because it is now, well, it's not even 9 o'clock in the morning yet, but the story here has rather shifted to, can they make up, and who's going to facilitate that? So there's reporting that White House aides are going to be talking to Elon Musk today. For a wee while, it looked as though actually possibly there was going to be a call between the two men. People are so eager to brush this under the carpet. But Donald Trump has spoken on the phone to a couple of reporters already this morning, and said that he has, what was it? He said he asked if he had any intention to speak personally to Elon Musk this morning. He said, "You mean the man who's lost his mind?" and said he was not particularly interested in talking to him right now. But it does seem as though officials in the White House are very eager to try and at least take the temperature down on this. And it would suit both of them. I mean, we've just been running through the consequences it could have for either man. I think there will be a lot of diplomatic work going on today to try and ease the pressure. And Elon Musk was backing down a little bit late last night. There were some people posting things saying, look, guys, this fighting is not good for anybody. Can you please try and make up? And Elon Musk was reposting or replying to some messages like that, indicating that maybe he did want to take it down a notch. So the next stage in this story could be watching how people try and patch this up rather than make it worse.
That's exactly right. The two men, despite having huge egos, despite both wanting to have the last word and priding themselves on hitting back harder than they've been hit, they do still have political views that are aligned. They still want to cut the size of government. They still want to fund various tech policies. They want to realign the American economy to focus on America. They are against big cultural issues on the left as well. So you could see grounds for them to be able to reach some sort of rapprochement, but it's gonna take one side or the other giving a little bit, and as you mentioned, Sarah, Donald Trump doesn't seem interested in that right now, and Elon Musk, even if he's taken a few steps back, he could very well start out to up the ampage again. Once you make Epstein allegations, it's hard to go back from that.
There is another world where he decides to set up a new political movement and to spearhead that and to try and stay in politics in some way, which to some extent with his social media platform and with the voice he has and the following he has, like, could be possible. Could he team up with like a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in the future? And it's this kind of anti-establishment thing that they build on. And maybe he gets Rogan and the other podcasters and like alternative media outlets on board. That's all a possibility. But then at the same time, like ultimately Donald Trump is the charismatic one. Like Elon Musk is not known for his charisma. In fact, quite the opposite. So actually, is Elon Musk all the weaker without Donald Trump? Does he need someone else who's got that kind of charisma and that sort of perhaps slightly more light-hearted approach, if that's the way of putting it, who people do find quite funny and likable, in some cases at least.
You mentioned Joe Rogan, Mariana, and it is interesting. One of the reasons why Rogan ultimately endorsed Donald Trump was because he respected Elon Musk and said, well, if Elon Musk likes Trump, then he will like him too. So I could very well see Rogan moving over to a new kind of base of power around Elon Musk. But, in the end, Donald Trump is still the president, and the president has considerable power and a platform that's even bigger than X. So he's properly positioned to be able to move on from this in the short term better than Elon Musk. But Elon Musk did post on X last night that he is going to be around for 40 years plus years. That's an optimistic view of life expectancy, but nevertheless. And Donald Trump is only going to be president for 3.5 years. So we may see Donald Trump win the battle, but ultimately, with Elon Musk sticking around and having all those resources, winning the war.
That's it for this episode of Americas. We will probably be back talking about the Elon Musk-Donald Trump feud or the makeup sometime soon. Until then, you can hear all our previous episodes wherever you get your podcasts.